Buddy, this is Dark Storm Comic Reviews here with a review on Green Goblin Issue 1. Now, a little background context for those of you who don't know. This was a comic book series created back in the mid-90s, and it stars a character named Phil Urich, who was the fourth person to take on the mantle of the Green Goblin. Now, for those of you who think that last name Urich sounds familiar, Phil Urich is the nephew of Ben Urich, and Ben Urich was an investigative reporter in the Marvel Comics universe. He was the first one to figure out Daredevil's secret identity. And he was the first one to figure out that Matt Murdock was indeed Daredevil. So that's pretty cool. And for some of you who also don't know, the Green Goblin is a famous villain of Spider-Man. He's had a couple of cool incarnations over the years. His first one was Norman Osborn. His second one was Harry Osborn. His third incarnation was a guy named Bart Hamilton, who was Harry Osborn's hypnotist. And the fourth one was a guy named Phil Urich. So, yep. And I like this cover, the most maniacal superhero of all. I really, really like it. I dig it. It's really, really awesome. And then we get this cool cover of the Green Goblin just laughing maniacally. We also get this cool scene with the pumpkin bomb and the smoke just coming out of the eyes. It's really, 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 really cool. Good picture for you guys here. And then the laugh in the eyes. And then the... Yep, that's the cover. So we get started on our story, and it starts off in present time. Phil's basically talking about how he's just enjoying being the Green Goblin. It's a roller coaster ride of fun. He's really liking it. It's awesome. And then we get this cool picture with the smoke in the background, just trailing behind the gliders here, and Green Goblin's just laughing away happily. It's a really, really cool scene. Really good opening. And so then Phil gets into his backstory on how he became the Green Goblin. We start off at a video store called Kid Video. It's basically kind of like a Blockbuster or something like that. And it starts off and this gang is just trashing it. And the reason this gang is trashing it is because they're like, look, the boss of this video store treated our boy Phil like crud. So you know what, we're gonna pay him a visit. So the leader of this gang is Rico the Sicko right here. Yep, that's his actual name. Very 90s. So Rico the Sicko and his gang are just trashing up the store. It's a really, really cool scene. And then we get this other scene where Phil's friend, Freddy Glazier, this guy down here, the guy in the blonde, Freddy Glazier, it's like, hey, Phil, so he's like, Phil, so I heard about your boss and how we treated you like crap. So you know what, I figured, why not call Rico and the boys down here and have them trash the store, give that boss of yours a little payback. So Phil's like, what? I didn't want you to do this. What? Why are you doing that? So Phil's like, I'm not with any revenge thing. Like, well, why are you doing this? And he's like, don't worry, man, don't worry. Rico's doing you a solid. He's getting some payback on your boss, and also, hey, this could turn into some big money for us, pal. So, this could really work out for us. And Phil's like, yeah, I don't want any part of this. But then the cops come up. So Phil's like, yep, I don't want to be dragged down with you guys. So you know what? I'm gonna come up with a distraction. So he ends up distracting the cops who are about to enter the video store. He's like, help, an old lady's getting mugged, And the cop's like, come on, boy, are you yanking my chain? And he goes, if an old lady's getting mugged, then why didn't you go help out? And Phil's like, I was afraid to get involved. He goes, yep, figures. So then he's like, you kids in your 90s technology. So he drives away, and we get to the scene where they escape, because Phil distracted the cops. And Rico's like, Phil, you did us a good service. You did us and the gang a good service. You distracted the cops. Good going, man. I like a guy who thinks fast on his feet. He goes, so the victor goes to spoils. Here's some videotapes we found. You done us good, kid. You done us good. So Phil's like, yeah, you're welcome. And, you can see by his face that, like, he's not too happy about what he did. He did just lie to a cop, so he obviously feels kind of bad about that. And he's like, but he didn't want to get thrown under the bus either, so he's like, yeah. So then the gang just starts to drop Phil off at his apartment. And then we see Phil entering his apartment. It's pretty cool. And the cool thing is that if you've read the earlier Spider-Man comics, Peter sometimes would have a crappy apartment, and Phil is no different. He has a pretty crappy apartment too. Kind of has a very dumpy, lofty apartment, which isn't really that crappy. It's not actually that bad. But we see Phil, and he gets a call from his parents. They want to meet with him for dinner. Then we see Phil kind of throw the tapes away, and then we kind of see him just hop down on his bed, like, yep, Another day in paradise. Another day in paradise for Phil Urich. So then we get to the next scene at the Daily Bugle, and people are just kind of running around. It's one of those busy days at the office. People are running around, picking stuff off, getting stuff done. And the men's like, hey man, have you seen my nephew, my intern? And the guy in the blue hat's like, yeah, I think I saw him over at the copy center. And Ben's like, I love my nephew, I love Phil, but he lacks a lot of direction and initiative, and he's just kind of lazy. So he's just like, I love him, but he doesn't really apply himself all that much, only on the rare occasion that he wants to. So that's some cool backstory in Phil's character. That we see that he's kind of like a lazy character, like he doesn't like to do a lot of work, So that's pretty cool. It's a cool backstory. Sorry for that. But then we get to the scene where Phil finds this blonde girl, and her name happens to be Lynn Walsh, and this scene he's kind of thinking to himself, man, wouldn't it be cool if I got to go out with this girl? She's super hot, she's super cool, she's super blonde, all that other stuff. Wouldn't it be cool if, my parents saw her on my arm, walking into the house, Maybe I should just go up and talk to her. But then she tries to talk to him, and he gets all nervous and anxious, and he acts all shy and weird about it. So we can also tell that Phil's obviously not a ladies' man. So it's kind of a cool scene. And then we sorry for the win, guys. So then Phil's like, maybe I should just go ask her out. Maybe it will be cool. But then before he has any chance to do that, his Uncle Ben comes up to him and is like, nope, you don't got time for that. So he takes him and he's like, Phil, I got an assignment for you. I found an old warehouse that was bought by Harry Osborn. It's like an old Green Goblin warehouse. I need you to go investigate it. I need you to do some research. So he's like, sure, Uncle Ben, I can totally do that. And yeah, it's a pretty cool scene right there. And so then we get to the next scene where Phil's at his parents' house, and they're kind of talking about, how Phil's doing his part-time job and how he's really enjoying it, and how, he's talking about, hey, so me and my uncle were working on this, like, Green Goblin project together, this, like, research project. It's going really, really well. And so then his parents are like, that's good, Phil, that's good. Yeah, but then they kind of, his parents aren't really mean, they just kind of heckle him a bit. They're kind of like, so yeah, what if his brother over here in the glasses, he's like, well, what about your actual career path? What about your real career path? And so then, and even his dad goes like, yeah, you could really find yourself better if you just went back to school, you went back to college. And he goes, but yeah, we talked about this, but we talked about this, I thought you were kind of cool with me with dropping out of college for a bit. I thought we had all this figured out, and they just kind of, and he's like, they're just kind of heckling him a bit. And it's kind of cool because, kind of dives more into Phil's character, find out that he's kind of like a dropout from college, that he's kind of a lost character, which is pretty cool. I kind of like that. Like a lost character, he's not sure what he wants to do with his life, and it's pretty interesting. I kind of like that. His parents are kind of giving him a hard time about it. Like, they're not being mean, they're just kind of giving him like a hard time. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool scene. But anyways, we get back to the Daily Bugle. Find out that Uncle Ben is like really proud of what Phil's been doing. How he's proud of him and how he's really dug deep into his research of the Goblin Warehouse. That's pretty cool. So you can tell his uncle is really supportive of him. How his uncle really loves him. It's very much a parallel kind of to, sorry guys, the wind, I'm outside. It's very much a parallel to how Peter looks up to his Uncle Ben, which is pretty cool. Peter Parker. But anyways, we get to the next scene and Phil's kind of like, my life used to be full of possibilities. That is until I dropped out of college and I lost all my money. I spent a lot of money, so I couldn't go back to college. And he's kind of thinking over his life a bit until he spots Freddy Glazier, and then he goes, seriously, man, like, what the heck? We could have gotten caught by the cops. You could have gotten me thrown in jail thanks to your little stunt. He just kind of, I know, guys, the win. And he just kind of like it's kind of like you could have seriously gotten us caught. And he goes, hey, I'm the only one who looks out for you, man. Nobody else looks out for you. I look out for you. I've looked out for you for years. We're best friends. And Phil's like, okay, man, I'm sorry. And he starts to tell Freddy about, how he found information on the Green Goblin hideout. And Freddy goes, really? Tell me more. So yeah, so then we get to the next scene. Ben is kind of talking to his wife, Ben Urich. He's like, I'm glad I got Phil on a part-time job. She goes, yep, he's a really good kid. Kind of stuff like that. They're just kind of happy that Phil's part of the job now. And then we get to the next scene, and then Phil's like, he's sleeping. But then Freddy calls me. He's like, hey, man, Phil, are you awake? And he goes, I've got some good news for you. And so you can tell, obviously tell by the phone call, Phil's not too happy about that. But then Phil finds out that Freddy's like, hey, you know that information you gave me on the Green Goblin? Yeah, well, I thought it would be the smartest and wisest decision to tell, the gang that we hung out with last night. The gang, Rico, the Sicko, and the guys. I thought it'd be cool to let them in on it. And Phil's like, seriously, man? Like, come on. First off, you betrayed me the first time, and then you do it again. Like, come on, man. Like, why are we even friends at this point? Like, and I think this scene's kind of funny. It's kind of funny. You just, like, his friend, like, sells him out, like, twice. But then, anyways, we get to this next scene, and, they get to, Phil and Freddy get to the warehouse, and then Rick goes there, and he's like, Phil, my man, you really got us some gold here. Look at all this goblin stuff. Look at all these crates, man. You and Freddy are in for like a major payday. Thanks to this research info. And Phil, it's kind of cool because Phil's like, you know what? The damage is already done, right? So why shouldn't me and Freddy like cop off on some of this, some of the riches? Why shouldn't we get some of the riches off of this? Phil's kind of like So it's like, yeah, why shouldn't we get some money off of this? And I kind of like this because it kind of shows that Phil, he seems like a good kid, but like he's not overall responsible. He's not like overall Peter Parker responsible. He's okay with making certain decisions that may not be right half the time. But then he sees that his uncle gets involved, and he's like, oh no, my Uncle Ben, he's getting mugged by these guys. And so he's like, his tune starts to change a bit. So then we get to I'm sorry guys, the wind. So then we get to the next scene, and Phil's, he's hiding out behind these crates. He's like, okay, what am I gonna do? I want to ditch, but my uncle, was captured by these guys. So what am I gonna do? And then he sees the light switch, and then he's like, hey, this could be a good distraction. So then, he sees that this could be a good distraction. So then he shuts off the lights, and he disguises his voice, and he saves his uncle, and they try to make a good escape. So yeah, they can escape. His uncle kind of heckles him. He's like, "Come on, man, is this seriously like your first time doing this? Like you're really bad at this." And he's like, feels like save the criticism for later, old man. So just so yeah. So then Rico's like, I want those guys dead now. I want to get them. I want them found. And so then we get to the next scene. Phil's like, I'm dead, I'm really screwed. Even if this gang doesn't kill me, Uncle Ben's gonna find out that I ratted the research to this gang and my friend. He was never gonna trust me again. You're the one person who actually supported me. But then as he's like contemplating his life, Phil finds this door, he leans against it, and it makes a clack sound. He opens it, and he presses the button on this little device here, and he finds the secret headquarters of the Green Goblin. So yeah, really, really cool scene. And I really like it. You got the Goblin costumes in the back here. You got the Green Goblin liquid here. You got Phil right here standing all in front of it. And then Phil kind of explains that Harry Osborn, before he died, was trying to create a Green Goblin for the now generation, for the 90s generation. He also explains that Harry Osborn was going to try to increase the Green Goblin's strength. Times it by 2. Increase the Green Goblin's strength by stimulating the brain, by like giving an electroshock to like whoever wore the Green Goblin suit. He would like put the costume on and get an electroshock to the brain, which would increase the Green Goblin's strength and would increase his powers. So yeah, Harry Osborn was working on that, and Phil's reading up on it until he sees a rat, and he starts to freak out, and he like ends up bumping into the glass, and he ends up breaking the container holding the goblin juice, and it like just spills all over him. And he's like, man, this burns, this is horrible. It's like, like what's happening to me? It's just like, it's a cool scene. And we get to our next scene here, where 2 of Rico's thugs are like they're checking out the place. They're trying to find where Ben Urich is. We end up finding him here. And then we see Phil. He's waking up. He's waking up from the juice. He's like, okay, I got to do something. They got my uncle. I got to figure something out. So I guess it's time I try something really, really stupid. And so he sees the goblin gear, and he's like, I'm gonna put this stuff on, and I'm gonna go save my uncle. So that's his brilliant plan. He gets the mask. I know, the wind. he gets the mask, and he puts the mask on, and he gets like this electric zap. Like I was saying, this Green Goblin, this particular Goblin, you know, when you put on the suit, he gets like a zap to his brain, and that's kind of what gives him his powers. It's kind of what gives him his strength and his abilities. Whenever he puts on the mask, he gets this electric zap, and that's how he gets all his Goblin abilities. So he gets this very bad electric zap to his head, and then he starts kind of stumbling to the suit. And then we see you know, Ben getting interrogated by these guys. He's like, hey, where's your pal at? We want to find him and take him down. So then Freddy sees the Goblin, he's like, oh man! And so then the Goblin shows up out of nowhere, and he just starts taking these guys out. And this is a really cool scene. I like this. Finally get to see Phil suit up as the Goblin, and it's really cool. We see the smoke trail here. We see this guy get taken out. We see this guy get taken out. And then we see Phil laughing maniacally. I love this image. The red eyes is really cool. We get the red lighter and the red eyes of the Goblin. It's a really, really cool scene. And then we see Phil up here, and he's kind of trying. He's like, I want to say something witty. I want to say something that instills fear into these guys. And I'd like to, but I'm also trying to balance myself in my glider. So that's pretty funny, you know. And yeah, I think riding the glider would be kind of a bit of a balancing act, honestly. So I don't blame him there. Anyways, yeah, and Ben sees the Green Goblin. He's like, the Green Goblin, like, how is he alive? How is he up? And then Phil, you know, is riding on his glider. He's like, I'm going to take these guys down. But as soon as he tries to do that, he stumbles and crashes into these crates. It's kind of a funny scene. Shows that he's not really skilled at the glider. But then he finds out that in his mask, he is equipped with a targeting scope. So he's able to see these guys coming, which is pretty cool. And he ends up pressing a button, and he ends up using one of his sparkle blasters, I believe is what the Goblins call them. Yeah, sparkle finger blaster, or whatever it's called, the finger blaster. And he activates his finger blaster, and he's able to shoot these two guys, you know, take these two guys down. And then he finds out that he also has increased strength because of the suit, because of the Goblin suit he's wearing. He's able to, you know, his strength increases, and he's able to lift up this box. It's pretty cool. So finds out he has increased strength. And then one of the things that I want to point out that makes his Green Goblin stand out amongst the other ones is that he comes with this very high-pitched laugh, which can actually be used as a weapon. So, like, he can laugh, like, so loud that he can actually shatter other people's eardrums. It's like he goes, ha, 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 and you can see that he can actually shatter their eardrums, which is really cool. And it makes Phil kind of stand out among the other goblins, because he's really the only one. He's really the only Goblin who has that power. Like, he can, like, laugh so hard that he can actually shatter their eardrums, and, like, you know, he can do it at, like, such a high-pitched frequency, like, he can actually cause damage. So that's pretty cool. So I kind of like that. And then we get another scene, and he's tossing down some pumpkin bombs. I'm going to get a better picture for you guys here. Get some of the action sequences. And then we get another scene after he throws the pumpkin bombs down. He, like, rams his glider into these guys, and he's just really having a fun time with himself. And then Rico's like, okay, I've had enough of this guy. I'm tired of this guy toying around with us. I'm gonna take him down. And as soon as he says that, Phil just, like, punches his lights out. Like, he comes in and he goes, you know, Rico, he's gone completely psycho. I think this guy needs a nap. I think it's nap time for this guy. So Phil comes in and he just, like, takes him out. Oh, here, I'll get the whole thing here. Takes him out. It's pretty cool. It's cool because it's one of the few times you actually see Marvel use red blood, you know, in their books, because, you know, I got that Comics Code Authority, so I don't think they can really use, like, actual red blood too much. That's pretty cool. But yeah, so Freddy gets away. He's like, I never want to do this again. But then cops show up. Cops come in and they see the Green Goblin scaling the ceiling. They're like, how can that be? That's the Green Goblin. That makes no sense. So the men's like, hey Ben, like, how'd you get here? And he's like, it's a long story. So then Phil escapes the building, and he's like, I'm the new Green Goblin now. This is awesome. You know, I'm gonna try to use the Green Goblin to do heroic acts, and like, yeah, this is definitely not the end of my story. So yeah, that was Green Goblin issue 1, and yeah, it's pretty good. It's a pretty good story. I like the concept. I'm trying to flip back to the cover here. I like the concept of the Green Goblin being a good guy. I think that's a really cool concept. I think Phil is a pretty interesting character. Like, okay, so he's not the most interesting character, but I kind of like the fact that he's kind of like this loser type of character. You know, he doesn't have much direction or initiative, and I like the fact that he tries to use the Green Goblin persona for Green Goblin persona for good, essentially. Well, you find out later on that he's not really so good, really. But, like, you find out that he tries to use it for good. He tries to use a Green Goblin mantle for good purposes. I think that's really cool. I think this is a pretty interesting series. So yeah, it's a good start to the series. It's a good first issue. So yeah, anyways, here's the people who created it. Tom DeFalco and and yes, that was Green Goblin issue 1. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I thought it was a good start to the series. I think Phil's character is pretty cool. You know, obviously he's not I wouldn't say he's the best Goblin. I'd say I still prefer Norman Osborn, but Phil's pretty cool though. So yeah, this has been the Green Goblin Review issue 1, and this Darkstorm Comics review. See you guys later.